welcome to another edition of the Green Beige Podcast. As always, that is AJ. He is the green. I am Ken. I am the beige. And again, we have a brand new special guest for this week's episode. One, Jason Reed, probably the biggest cam lover that I know. Reed, how are you doing, sir?
Fine, man. I'm cool.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. And AJ, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing very well, bro. Everything is coming together nicely, except for my team. But outside of that, in life, yeah, I'm good.
Nice. No, we will have lots of time to get to these teams this week because, of course, this week was an active week in the NFL. We had a few teams that were out on buys, and everybody else that was playing, well, we would like to say that all of them give their best shot, but sometimes that's not always the case. So this week, as we go off the rip, as usual, we are starting with the Blitz, which is where we recap the happenings of week 6. Now, for those of you who did not see many games and do not know what happened in week 6, let me give you a very quick rundown of what happened in the games. So we started the week with the Buccaneers and the Eagles playing at the Eagles, and the Buccaneers won that game 28-22. The Jaguars beat the Dolphins 23-20 over in London, England. The Vikings beat the Panthers 34-28. The Ravens over the Chargers 34-6. Rams beat the Giants 38-11. The Colts over the Texans 31-3. The Chiefs 31-13 over the Washington football team. The Packers 24, Bears 14. The Bengals 34, the Lions 11. The Cardinals 37 to the Browns 14 points. Cowboys beat the Patriots 35-29. The Broncos lost to the Raiders 34-24. And then on Sunday Night Football, the Steelers down the Seahawks 23-20 in overtime. And the Titans, well, they stunned the Bills 34-31. So, Jason, as you are the guest here, we give you first crack at this. When you look at these games, who played and how they went, who is your biggest winner for week 6?
Well, I have two teams in that category. I would put the Jaguars in that category and the Titans. I mean, it's the first win for the Jags, so one may say, well, I think they would be the biggest winners, but not for me because they didn't really have anything to gain from winning, just breaking the duck as far as I see it. So for me, the biggest winner would be the Titans. I think the Titans were facing a kind of 3-3 record, and they were facing a tough team as well, a really good team that was playing very well. And to win against the Bills and to take your record to 4-2, I think that for me is the biggest winner over the week that has passed.
Nice. All right, AJ, who is your biggest winner this week?
My biggest winners for this week are the Vikings, actually. And I'll tell you why. So the Vikings, the win puts them at 500, right? And it kind of keeps them in like a wild card, running for a wild card spot. Because, I mean, we all expect that the Packers are going to win that division again. But the Vikings, and Ken, we've discussed this ad nauseum. This is a put up or shut up year for the most important figures on that team, right?
Yes.
The head coach, the quarterback, everything. So they can ill afford to be falling behind too early. And at this point in the NFC, only the West looks like there's going to be like a runaway first and second, and like one team taking a wildcard spot. So everyone else is kind of in that race, for another wildcard spot. So it keeps the Jaguars. It keeps the Vikings in the running still, and it was an important win. So for me, they are the biggest winners of this week at this point.
Nice. No, my biggest winners for this week was actually the Tennessee Titans. I had the Tennessee Titans as the biggest winner. Yeah, Reed. Me and you agree. We agree at this point, but we'll see how much we agree as the episode goes. No, The reason that I had the Titans as the biggest winner, now we know that the Titans defense has been much maligned. They have been criticized every single week. And the only reason that they have not gotten that level of criticism is because they won the game. But they did beat a quality opposition in the Buffalo Bills, who everybody was looking at as being basically the team to beat in the AFC. The Bills came into that game 4-1, having only lost the very first game of the season to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and steamrolled teams in between, including the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, one thing that we always make mention of is that 18-wheeler truck of Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry, apparently he has run the fastest of all players this season, hitting 21.78 miles per hour when he scampered over 70 yards for that first touchdown. This was also a big game for him. He had 20 rushes, 143 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And he typically struggles against the Bills, but he got it going early and he was able to keep it going the entire game. The only other team that I had mentioned here as my biggest winner was the Baltimore Ravens, because the Ravens absolutely shellacked the Chargers. And that was one of the games that I had made mention of last week when I was saying the games that I was looking forward to, because we know what the Ravens are, and the Chargers have been looking very good. They've been playing very well, and they're leading the AFC West. This was a game that the Ravens really did need to win, and then to have such a dominant defensive performance against a good offensive team in the Chargers, that definitely deserve some extra credit.
But that didn't change the stars for the Ravens in any way to me. I mean, Ravens is seen as a dominant team. I mean, yes, the Chargers would have been they're a good team, but that win didn't do anything for the Ravens in my estimation. It didn't add to their accolades or add to their season. They're a dominant team.
The reason why I would only slightly disagree with you there, and not necessarily disagree, but from another standpoint, I think the manner of the win is more important than the win itself.
Okay. Yes, fair enough.
For the which is why I can understand where Ken is coming from. It's more about the matter, it's how they did it. Because while you are right, Reed, that's what they have been in the past. This season it's been a seesaw for the Ravens. So to win in that manner is kind of like, all right, it's kind of like a little boost for them. So I get where Ken's coming from here, yeah.
And not just that, but don't forget that the Ravens have been kind of like the heart attack kids this entire season. Almost every game they've played has gone to overtime, and it's been down to the wire.
Yeah,
they beat the brakes off of the Chargers going and coming in every phase of the game. So from that perspective, you have to give them the flowers, man. They earned it. Now, after we talk about the biggest winner, then of course the next one is the biggest loser. So, Reed, who is your biggest loser for week 6?
Whoa. I have 2 teams I have in that category.
Just say the one you want to see. Just say the one you want to see.
I have to tell you the 2 teams I have first. I have Dolphins and I have Seahawks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I trend towards the Seahawks, because to me, the Seahawks had an opportunity to beat a decent team with a backup quarterback, playing with their backup quarterback. Any game that you can win with a backup quarterback at this stage is a big plus for that team. It keeps you in the hunt, you know what I mean, in case Russell comes back sometime soon. So, and I think they had a good opportunity to beat the Steelers. And to lose that game, for me, I put them in the category as biggest losers.
Gotcha. Interesting. I didn't have them pegged at that point, but AJ, who do you have as your biggest loser?
That was nice, Reed. And the reason why I was pressing you before you got into it is because I could have sworn you were going to mention the Pats, right? But I'm pretty sure we'll get into that still. But oddly enough, my pick is actually the Dolphins. Firstly, let me put it this way. You can't be the team to make the Jags lose, to help the Jags end that losing streak. Not you. Whoever the team was that allowed the Jags to get off of that streak was going to come under a bit of fire. And it can't be the Dolphins first. Like, the Dolphins aren't in a situation where they could be losing these kinds of games. Now, granted, I understand this is a Sunday game. They had to travel to London. So, that does factor into everything. I understand that completely. But you need to get it done. This is a team that can't win games. You need to get it done. And Tua just came back off an injury. They inserted Tua into the game. Mind you, Tua's I didn't watch this entire game from start to finish. But looking at I was just about to say, looking at his numbers look like he actually had an impressive game, right? But you can't lose this game. They're now 1-5. The only victory is against us in week 1. And this is a team that's supposed to be trying to make a playoff push after last year, just barely missing out. So they're my biggest losers for this week.
Okay, so the funny thing is that I actually don't have either of those two teams as my biggest loser. My biggest loser is the Cleveland Browns. How are you, the Cleveland Browns? And yes, you are playing against a good squad in the Arizona Cardinals, who are still undefeated, by the way. But you are playing against the Arizona Cardinals. You do not have Nick Chubb coming into the game. And then on top of that, during the game, you then lose Kareem Hunt as well. Not to mention the fact that Baker Mayfield did not look good in this game. I have been on the record with my trepidation where Baker is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And Baker was 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. And while he is struggling against the Arizona offense, is able to do as they like with this Cleveland defense, which is supposed to be one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. When you take all of that into consideration, the fact that Baker, again, he came into the game injured and he hurt his shoulder again. You have Hunt now out on injury reserve for at least the next 3 weeks with a calf injury. At least, thank God, it was not an Achilles. Chubb is on IR already. I don't see how things go up from here for the Browns. It's not just that they lost the game, but it's when you take everything in totality, the cumulativeness of losing both their starting running backs, and this is a team that loves to run the ball.
And Chubb is already ruled out for next week as well, for the Thursday night game. Yeah.
And then your quarterback is ailing. Then you really don't put yourself in a good position going forward. Similar to the Seahawks, but yeah.
He's ailing and playing for his life, because I think there's a lot of question marks still on Baker. I mean, as I said to the guys, he's good at ads, but I'm not sure how good he is on the field. And they have a quarterback hunter. He brags about hunting quarterbacks, and why he didn't hunt Murray on Sunday. But I wouldn't put them in that category, because the Cardinals are the undefeated team right now in the league, and they're playing extremely well. So I thought they would have lose the game regardless if they had all their people fit or not. They would have still lose the game.
But sorry. Let me
go ahead.
I get where you're coming from, because I think in one of the previous weeks, one of my biggest losers fell under kind of like the same scope with regards to like losing the game and then like losing players. I think it was the Colts in one of the weeks when Carson Wentz injured both them ankles.
Yes.
Oh, I think, yeah. So Reed, I understand where Ken is coming from in that regard, in terms of like, yeah, because it's not just the loss, but it's a fact that all your key personnel going down at this time and right now they are 3-3 in their division, and we know how this division is. So I get where
that's a fair point. Their losses are beyond the L. Yeah, I got you.
Correct.
And then the fact still remains that their defense got pushed all over the field to the tune of 37 points. So when you take all that into consideration,
that's a week after giving up 47 to the Chargers.
Yes.
Wow.
Exactly. They have multiple problems right now. All right. So that was the biggest loser. So who know? And AJ, I'll give you first crack at this one. Mm-hmm. Who gets your tag for the moral victory this week?
You know what? Reed actually kind of touched on it a little bit, so I'm going to expand. But it's the LA Chargers. The reason is, right, they just had a bad day. Now, this is the one game I wasn't even tuned into Red Zone. I was watching this game, right? And it was just a bad day. And they lost like we said, look, the Ravens are a very good team. They have started off inconsistently from the start of the season. Like, it's been up and down, but in all fairness, the Ravens are a really good team. They're a well-coached team. They have very good personnel. They have a very good quarterback. So they are a good team. It just wasn't the Chargers' day. Justin Herbert, the connection he usually has with all, and Ken, you know that because I know you had Mike Williams in your fantasy lineup. So I know, right? But everything was just off on the day. And I feel like these days happen, and especially to a team, I feel like it's understandable to a team at this point. It's not like the Chargers are the reigning Super Bowl champions or AFC champs that we expect them to be to a particular standard. They started off the season really well, but today was just an off day. And I don't feel like there's any shame in it happening to a very good team, right? No. Also, why I say there's a moral victory here is because this win comes right before their bye week. So they have the chance, they have an extra week now to look at the tape and see what they got wrong and assess that, take some time to just mellow and then come back and hit the ground running like they did in the first few weeks of the season. So I mean, yes, it's a loss, and in all of this, they still lead the division. So their fate is still in their hands. So with all of this taken into consideration, I think that they should have a moral victory this week because it's not the end of the season for the Chargers.
Interesting. Okay. So, Reed, who was your moral victor this week?
I mean, I listened to AJ and I kind of thought I had to shift my pick because I was actually picking Jaguars. I mean, they won, and yeah, but I think for them getting that one win, all the pressure, all the heat is on them. So I think this win gives them much more than the average team to win that one game. New coach, new quarterback, everything, all the pressure is on. So to win that game against the Dolphins, I mean, and they should have really lost the game, but to win the game the way they won the game, I still can't believe he got a timeout at that point in time. I can't figure it out. It don't make sense to me. I can't see it. So I give them that moral victory as well, that they can probably gain some momentum, gain some confidence from that. And that's my pick.
Well, I mean, you and I agree again. For those who do not know how conversations go with me and Reed, right? We do not agree. We do not agree like this. We usually have very heated conversations. But Reed, I agree. I agree with you with the Jaguars being the moral victor. No, I remember I saw it somewhere. I don't remember where right now, but it said that basically the NFL kind of gaslit a whole entire country with the Jaguars, by sending the Jaguars over to London every year to play one of these games because the Jaguars it seems like if they would go over there and they'll put up a decent performance against whoever they're playing. So the folks in London thought that the Jaguars were actually a decent team. We knew otherwise because we see them every week, but they see them in their home game in London, and it seems like if the Jaguars are fantastic. Now, the bigger issue for me when I look at the Jaguars and why I think that they should be feeling really, really good about this win. The last time that the Jaguars won a game was week 1 of last season. The Jaguars have lost an entire season's worth of games in a row. Be it the 16 games that we had last season or the 17 games this season, they have lost more than that. But Urban Meyer, who can't keep himself out of the headlines for the wrong reasons, Trevor Lawrence, who this is Ken's personal belief, he is a good quarterback. He is too pretty. He needs to get some facial hair so that he looks more rugged and stronger as a quarterback. That is my personal belief. I said this before he was drafted from Clemson. I said he was too pretty at Clemson, and he's still pretty now. But the pretty boy got a win, and that's good for him. And that's good for Urban. It's good for the entire Jacksonville Jaguars organization. I know Shad Khan is probably easing his finger back off of that eject button for Urban, but I'm still pretty sure it's going to get pressed before the end of the season because Urban can't keep himself out of trouble. So that's why he gets.
He's not too pretty, Ken, man. Don't do that to the guy, man. I mean, he's adjusting. He's adjusting to the league and the speed of the league, and I think he would have a better season next year. But I as you mentioned, I think Spirit a thought for the fact that England had 2 good games.
It is true.
2 very, very
True,
good games,
true.
you know.
That's true.
And so that was a
True.
plus, I guess, for the overseas market there.
Yeah, but I mean, my concern about Trevor being pretty has nothing to do with his football prowess. It is just, I mean, this man had ads showing his long flowing golden locks and his
So
perfectly
what?
shaped face. No, he
but
is the
that
Aaron,
was-
look, Aaron Rodgers trying to get that same long flowing locks now.
And I look Palomalu, a legend, a Hall of Famer in this game in commercials about his hair.
But Paulo,
Exactly.
Hair blowing him in the wind and all sort of thing.
but Palomalu was out there lighting people up every week. Trevor
So you're
Lawrence,
saying that because he's a rookie?
I'm saying that Trevor Lawrence, he needs to get some ruggedness on his face.
No, man, he don't need no facial hair what? Justin
that's just-
Herbert don't have any facial hair, can he?
Yeah,
His hair
actually,
may
he
not
does.
be as
He got-
straight as
He got some fuzz now. He got some
Yeah,
fuzz.
he got a little peach fuzz below there.
Yeah, he got a little. He
Yeah.
got a little thing again on him.
Yeah.
The thing is, I prefer Justin Herbert with the long hair than with the short hair. Because with short hair, he look like a choir boy. But again, that's just me. That is that's just the way I see
Proud,
it.
boy. I'm proud.
Anyhow, okay, so we've talked about the moral victor. So when on the other side of that, you know, who this week had your least inspiring victory? Go
I
ahead,
want to
Daisy.
start here. I want to start because I'm going to pick up right where we left off. First of all, so you guys, for some of the other questions, mentioned 2 names. This is where I'm going to mention a couple of names, and I'm not going to go into too much depth in both. But I feel like the right answer for this is the Jags. The least inspiring way. I feel like the right answer is the Jags because yes, they did win the game, and while I am happy, I'm happy for Trevor Lawrence. At the end of the day, your coach is still Urban Meyer. And as you said, Ken, he can't stay out of controversy. Something else is going to happen with Urban Meyer before the end of this season. And it's going to be in the news. Like, it's something non-football related. I'll count on it, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I'm not inspired by this win. It looks good on the face of it, but nothing's going to happen. There's still an organization that is very far behind the others. But my actual answer here is the Colts. And the reason is I'm not beating the Texans. At the end of the day, a dub is a dub. They should still feel good about their win. But beating the Texans, like, the Texans are no kind of litmus test whatsoever. Like, you can't judge what team you are by beating the Texans at this point in the season, right?
Agree.
So beating the Texans 31-3 doesn't say, like, again, they should feel good about the win, but it doesn't say, well, all right, we know that we're exceptionally good at this or that. You can't go back and analyze yourself, to me, off tape by beating the Texans. As coaches would see it differently, as they should, but for me, it's a win, but it doesn't inspire me that the Colts have found any sort of identity by this kind of blowout win.
Okay, interesting. All right, Reed, who do you have as your least inspiring win?
Well, you know, I have contenders. I have 3 contenders. I have the Jags and the Dolphins, just like AJ. I have the Cowboys and the Patriots, to be honest. And I have the Steelers and the Seahawks. Because I believe that the Steelers supposed to beat the brakes off the Seahawks team. I mean, don't let it be that close. You have all of your chips in order. You don't have a backup QB and so on. You should not let it get that close. And the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys should have dismantled the Patriots. The Patriots should never be in with a shout against the Cowboys. The Cowboys are always seen as contenders for Super Bowl title. And this Patriots team is just a set of junk. I mean, they spent a lot of money, so they have a lot behind them in terms of the money. But there's no way that game should have been that close. And the Jags, Dolphins, that was just an ugly victory. So but for me, I would put it to the Steelers. The Steelers, because the Steelers are really underwhelming in terms of this season. I think Ben really looks his age. He's given some sparks here and there, but I really think they need to get somebody else on the center if they want to really contend for Super Bowl this season. A good QB on the center. I still have faith in Haskins, even though people are saying, I haven't seen enough. Preseason is nothing to go by, but I think that may be a better step than even Ben right now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're still plugging Haskins when
All right.
we have not seen, as you said, we've not seen Haskins be good yet in his career in the regular season. However, given the opportunity to perform in Pittsburgh, right now I think Haskins is not even the backup. I think he's third string for them, where Mason Rudolph is their backup.
Wow.
Who knows what Haskins may be able to do.
To be fair, he just got there, Mason was there for a season or two now, so he won't go in there and automatically be number 2. But I mean, at least Tomlin gave him a chance to be in the team. So
yeah. And we know that Mason Rudolph is not the answer. So why not get Haskins?
I can start a fight though.
Yeah, he could start a fight, and then when he gets it, then remembers, that he is of the complexion that he usually get protection. But I'll just move on to my least inspiring win.
Let me ask you a question, Ken. Is your answer for this the Patriots as well?
No. Okay. Neither of you called the team that I had here for my.
Excellent. So before you get into it, I don't mean to cut you, but may I just respond to Reed since we're on this platform? Reed,
go ahead, sir.
You mentioned my Patriots, right? Let me get into this just a little bit, because I feel like what happened this weekend is the same thing that I've been telling you for the last week or so. Mm-hmm. The reason why the game was close is because of our defense. Our defense is actually really good generally. But the offense doesn't do enough to facilitate a strong defense. So the defense is on the field making stops, and the offense can't put up points. And then happens is...
Whose fault is that?
You ask, you study the wrong things. That's not what we're talking about
here. No, I think that your offense has the opportunity to do it, but you are very conservative for some reason. Only when you get in situations, you release Mac Jones and he throws big throws and so on. Why are you so conservative?
But because Mac is good at what he does. He's very accurate. He could bring the team down the field. But like I told you, we don't have playmakers on offense. We have players in the position. So we have a couple tight ends. We have a couple receivers, but none of these guys are known playmakers like Kendrick Bourne and Aguilar. Man, in playmakers, you could drop a ball in their man's hands, they will make a catch every now and then, except for Aguilar. But
you waste good money this offseason, boy.
And I told you so. We did on offense, but again, the defense is and then what I saw at the end of the game, the defense got gassed because they were on the field too much.
True.
And it's not like the Cowboys' offense is bad. In the previous 3 games for weeks 3, 4, and 5. The Cowboys actually scored the second most points behind the Bills in that span. So it's not like the Cowboys' offense is really bad. So you can't ask the defense to do every single thing. And that's what I've been trying to tell you. The defense is usually doing their job. Okay. The offense isn't. And then the men just got gassed at the end. So I wasn't even upset that we lost the game. I was upset that we were throwing balls for Nelson Aguilar in crunch time. But anyhow, go ahead, Ken.
So now that we've had a little bit of a therapy session, my pick this week for the least inspiring win, and I guess I'm the only one that thought about it this week at least, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I had them too. I agree.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers won their game against the Philadelphia Eagles 28-22.
I agree.
But AJ, you know what you and I have constantly been saying about the Philadelphia Eagles?
Mm-hmm.
That their quarterback is not good.
Yeah.
But the Eagles were still within 6 points of the Buccaneers. Now, listen to a couple of these stats, right? The Buccaneers had 399 total yards to 213 from the Philadelphia Eagles. They were almost literally 2-1 in time of possession. It was like 39 minutes and change to 21 and a little bit. So it was almost a completely dominant performance for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, except for the score. How is it that this game is still so close that we coming down into the fourth quarter and it's still somewhat in doubt? Like if we actually got some credible quarterback play and some decent performances from the offense of the Philadelphia Eagles, that they actually had an opportunity to win this game, but you're supposed to be the defending champs. And we talk all off season about how they brought everybody back. And of course, as soon as the season starts, men start getting hurt. Richard Sherman went down in that game, and he just got there. And he's over 3 weeks with a hamstring injury. Their secondary is in tatters. Their defense is not good. We keep hearing that their run defense is supposedly stout, but their pass defense is not good. But one thing that they've been able to do in most of their games is that they've been able to get up on people quick. They've been able to get points on the board very early on. Tom is going for 150, 200 yards in the first half, but then he's finishing with like 300. So what happens in the entire second half? So when you take all of this into consideration, and the fact that because they're putting scoreboard pressure on people, they can't run the ball because they have to get quick points. They can't allow the clock to just be going all the time every time they get stopped. So they have to throw. The run defense is going to look good because they're not running the ball, but your pass defense is getting gashed because they have to throw the ball. I'm not a fan of the Buccaneers. That is well documented. I am not a fan of Tom Brady either. That also is well documented.
It's true.
But if I was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there are lots of things that will be coming out of that tape from this week that will cause me to be nervous. I would be concerned and telling myself there are things that we need to fix heading into next week.
Yeah, I actually had them. Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I'm going contrary to your point. So I
actually had that team, that game as well as one. I just felt that it was a real ugly win, and for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I guess that's part of a championship team to win, even when it's ugly. But the Eagles are so, I don't know how to put the Eagles, but the Eagles had them so good. And the Eagles were just running all the time. But I don't know what's happening with Tampa Bay. I'm not sure if the age is catching up with all the players. I don't know. But for me, I agree. It was not a convincing win. But we will see when we begin to talk, as you said, about the AFC and these different, and whatever the case may be, going down the line. But I really hope that Tampa Bay implodes. That's my humble. I desire that. Especially for Jay, who's a Tom Brady fan and believes that he won a chip last season, even though he's a Patriots fan. So these Patriots fans, I want Tom Brady to implode.
You and me, boy. Right. I can't wait to kick them out of the NFC. So can't wait. Anyhow, AJ, you go ahead.
Okay. I understand all of your points. I take all of them into consideration. And Ken, when you give that breakdown in terms of the stats, I completely get it. Reed, you are well documented Tom Brady hater. I know Ken obviously does not like the Bucs because they're in his division. Me and him, we were at war last year when we were discussing that, but I digress. The reason why I will so let me go back, give a little perspective on this, right? So I had to write an article. It's for a little sports betting app. It was something I do on the side, right? And I actually picked the under for this game because it's a midweek game, because it's a Thursday night game, short week. And I told myself, you know what? I don't think that either of these teams are going to put up points. I don't trust the Eagles offense that much. And this Bucs team going into a short week, I didn't expect that. And that's exactly what happened, because the over-under was 52.5, I believe. And they scored a total is 50 points. It's 28-22. Right. So I'm just saying, I kind of expected a low score, and I'm not surprised either that the game was this close. It was because, to me, the short week factors in. The short week does factor in to that. No, granted, Ken, I'm not trying to make excuses. You are correct. There are things that they will need to look at and look at the tape and say, yeah, we need to fix this and fix that. But the reason why it wouldn't be my least inspiring win is because it was a short week. Both teams had to travel. At the end of the day, they did grind out the win. They were on the road because the Eagles were in Carolina the week before. Tom and the boys were at home, and then they had to travel to Philly. So all of those things kind of factor in, and let's be honest. And as you noted, Ken, they started off hot and then they kind of tailed off in the second half. To me, that's fatigue. To me, that's fatigue. And if you were like looking at the game, it just seemed like men couldn't hold on to the ball. I'm pretty sure you all saw that. You all saw that. Some even admittedly, it seems like one or two of Tom's throws were slightly off as well. To me, that's just fatigue, and that's because it was a short week, which is why I don't read too much into it. I feel like they just had to win the game, and they did. That's my reason for what happened there, which is why it's some kind of harsh. To me, it kind of harsh, but you all have an agenda, right? So I can I can leave you all to that. I can leave you all to that.
But for me, there's no agenda. I have been open with my disdain for all the teams in my division. And I have been on the record that I have never, not once, been a Tom Brady acolyte as some. And like I just said, I cannot wait. I honestly cannot wait for the Patriots to be good again. So all of y'all freeloaders will get out of my division.
Good again?
Regardless of whether or not we could be good, as long as Tom Brady's in the league, I'm going to support him where he goes. Mind you, I'm still a Pats fan. Let me put that out there. Pats is still number one. But as long as Tom Brady's in the league, I will wish him success. That's just the bottom line.
All right. So that brings us to the end of Off the Rip this week. And now we're bringing back another segment that we've done in the past. That's what he said. Now, for That's What He Said this week, we are looking at one Mr. Colin Kaepernick. Now, Kaepernick, for those who are paying attention, Kaepernick is 33 years old. And Kaepernick is still looking for a comeback in the NFL. Colin Kaepernick is refusing to give up on his dream of returning to the NFL and leading another team to the Super Bowl. In a new interview with Ebony Magazine, the former San Francisco 49ers quarterback and activist said he still practices daily in case a professional football team calls. I'm still up at 5 a.m. training 5-6 days a week, making sure I'm prepared to take a team to a Super Bowl again, Kaepernick told the publication. That's not something I will ever let go of, regardless of the actions of 32 teams and their partners to deny me employment. The same way I was persistent in high school is the same way I'm going to be persistent here. So Reed, that's what he said.
Kaepernick is deluded, Ken. He is very deluded. He's living in a fantasy world. Nobody thinks about Kaepernick. The league has moved on. Look at it, Ken. There's so many young QBs out there. So many other people who probably can't even get a job. Look, my guy is still on the sideline. He doesn't have half the baggage that Kaepernick has, and he's still on the sideline. Kaepernick is done. He is speaking that way to give life to his crusade. He has to appear as if he still wants it, so that he can appear as being blackballed and all of these things and give motivation to his movement. He does not want to play in the NFL. I refer back to when they gave him the opportunity to, showcase his skills. And he moved destination quickly, with a short notice, within an hour, from one area to the next. You had about 25 teams present at that time to see you. You move and you only got 3 or 4 teams to come and follow you where you went to. And then you were saying the owners are scared in your interview after, and all kind of things you were saying. He does not want to play in the NFL. He is happy where he is at this point in time. I doubt it very much, Ken.
AJ, what are your thoughts?
Has to be a cool day in hell, though, because I agree with Reed. I really agree with Reed. Because I don't, and I think, first of all, Colin Kaepernick is saying what he should be saying to the media. That he still wants to play, because obviously, like as Reed already alluded to, he was blackballed. We all know that, even though it wasn't proved. We know. Even if it's 2 teams that came to that decision, we know something happened to keep him out of that league, right? But it was before he would have liked to, he didn't leave the league on his terms. So he's saying what he has to say. And to go back to what Reed said as well, when he had that tryout, and you didn't even mention this, Reed, but I'll bring it up. The man wore a Kunta Kinte shirt, t-shirt to go to the. You telling me in an organization that is a closed organization where there are a limited number of owners, and like this is they decide whether they want to hire you or not. There's no outside. There's not the fans that voting in like this is the voice or something like that. The man wore a Kunta Kinte shirt. You mean to tell me as a Nike athlete, you can just put on a regular Nike shirt and go to the people thing?
Yep.
And then you will come and tell me no that you still want to play. Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. I even if I had a modicum of hope and respect for Kaepernick up to that point, and you know, just hoping that he could get back in after he did pull that stunt, I'm like, nah. Even the change in location thing, because they had like some controversy surrounding that decision.
Yeah,
but
recording it, something to record.
Correct. The Kunta Kinte thing, we can't want to get back into these people league and doing that. No, I ain't buying it. I'm not buying it.
So here is where I disagree with both of you. And I take your point on the shirt that he decided to wear. But in light of everything that has been happening recently where the NFL is concerned, the timing of this for Kaepernick is very well. All right, let's put it this way. He could not have planned for Gruden to get caught up in an email scandal. Nobody could. However, you strike when the opportunity is there. You strike when the iron is hot. No, we cannot sit here and definitively say that there are 32 better starting quarterbacks in the NFL than Colin Kaepernick. We definitely cannot say there's 64 better quarterbacks in the NFL than Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick is good enough to be on a roster. And with that workout was evidence that he still had the juices to be on a roster. That said, well, the moving of the workout from where it had initially been planned to be to the high school, that was a bit of a problem. The things, remember this also, the parameters that the NFL wanted to put on Kaepernick for this workout were things that lawyers were saying had never been done before. They had never seen anything been put in writing like this for any player's workout before or since. So Kaepernick had more than enough reason to be weary of the NFL and everything else that they were putting here, because one of the things was basically, you can't sue us again if you have this workout and nobody hires you. No, I see a lot being made of how Kaepernick decided to take whatever the settlement was that has not been disclosed. We may never know what that amount of money was. However, when he took that settlement, if he did not take the settlement and it went to court, we don't know what would have come out. No, AJ, you and I, Reed, you and I too, we've all had discussions about how difficult it would have been to prove collusion. Mm-hmm. But the fact that the NFL was willing to just write a check to try to make this go away shows that, to use Caribbean parlance, is more in this mortar than just the pestle. There had something there. When we start talking now about John Gruden and his emails and all of the emails and all of these issues and stuff that he was sending all over the place, and then Derek Carr came out and said, well, if we can start releasing emails, we should release all the emails. You can imagine if they were to release all the emails and we were to just go through it and just take all of them, put them in this huge big database and just type in Kaepernick, calling, protest, kneeling. You can imagine the things that would come out. You can imagine the things that we would see. So the NFL doesn't want that to happen. No, Kaepernick, he said he's keeping himself in shape, and I believe that he is, because every time that we see him and he's throwing a football, he looks the part. He looks legitimate, but he's not going to get this opportunity. I personally don't believe that he should still be trying to get back into the league, because he is a martyr for his cause. And him getting back into the league now at this point in time, a lot of other people would look at him as a sellout, as if they aren't already looking at him as a sellout. So maybe at this point he should just be cool and just relax and let the league continue.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's clear he was blackballed. I don't doubt it. But for me, looking at the picture now, I can't see why a team would turn to him now. I think I just can't see it. Even though he may be better than this, but I don't see it's more pain than profit. It's more problem than profit to go for Kaepernick now. You could get by with an average or a little better than average QB and still. Like Goff took a team to a Super Bowl. Goff is nowhere close to Kaepernick, but you can get by if you put things right with a Goff without the baggage. So I don't see why as a team why would go for Kaepernick at this.
Kunta Kinte t-shirt. That's all I have to say. You can't want a job with these people are wearing. Like, just wear a Nike t-shirt. You're a Nike athlete. Wear a Nike t-shirt. That was it for me. Nail in the coffin. He can't want that job.
Yeah, but even on the side, they can. You mentioned Derek Carr. It's Derek Carr seems really hurt by the fact that Gruden is gone. And I think he was really close to the coach and he felt that, that they could go places with the coach and so on. I don't know how he would respond totally to the rest of the season, but it's interesting. I mean, beyond the emails and so on, I mean, sometimes it's difficult looking back in a person's past and seeing what they did and then judging them in the present for it. I don't know if he made amends for what he did. I don't know. But he had a good thing going. And Carr felt that Carr has never, I guess, looked as good as he's been looking and confident as he's been under somebody other than Gruden right now. So I just feel a little thing for Carr, how he feels about it. That's
Yeah. We spent a lot of time talking about Gruden last week.
Honestly.
We don't need to get back into him again.
Not Gruden the Carr. I was just mentioning Carr, Derek Carr.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, to me, hearing the rhetoric coming from Carr was a little bit surprising, knowing that John Gruden, for the first 2 seasons that he was there, was openly auditioning to get another quarterback other than
That's a good
Carr.
point.
But he seems to have come around, and Carr will have to put on his big boy pants just like the rest of them. So that is what Kaepernick said. Now we on to the fun stuff. Who do you trust? And this week for Who Do You Trust, we are looking at 3 teams. Well, I can't say 3 teams necessarily, 3 situations. And trying to make a determination as to what we believe is going to happen going forward. Now, we made mention of the Kansas City Chiefs winning their game earlier this week. And the Kansas City Chiefs, having won their game, they have now gotten themselves back to 500. They are 3-3 on the season. This now comes into play with the loss that the Chargers just had, the bad loss that they did have against the Ravens, losing that game and only scoring 6 points. So, gentlemen, and Reed will give you first crack at this one too. Do you trust Kansas City Chiefs to come back and win this division?
It's a good question. The division that they are in, I think it's winnable, to be honest. From the teams that are in that division, I do believe that they could actually win it. You see, Chiefs, they haven't played well, but they are still in the hunt. They're still 3-3, and some games they lost were pretty close as well. So my thing is that if the Chiefs are having just trying to find their feet, and they haven't played well thus far, but they can improve, and if they improve, I think that they stand a good chance of still winning their division. So I cannot write off the Chiefs at this point in time, to be honest. I was looking at the division there a while ago in terms of the Chiefs division. And as I'm saying, it is a winnable division. Denver kind of cooling off a little bit. The Raiders aren't, shouting as loud all the time. The Chargers are the ones that are there that looks like they can win the division out of the 4 teams in the division. But the Chargers just got a real hard knock from the Ravens. It's going to be important how they rebound from that knock. So I think that since the Chiefs had a bad patch, If they can gain their footing now, after that bad patch, the Chiefs can win this division. They're a good enough team to win all the rest of their games. I mean, they have some tough games coming up. And that's the challenge for the Chiefs right now. They have to play the Titans next, I believe. And the Titans is coming in with a lot of confidence from beating a very dominant team. So for them, to get over the Titans is going to be important. If they get over the Titans, easy win they can get over the Giants. The Packers could be a bit tricky, but then there's the Raiders and the Cowboys. So this schedule, to me, I mean, is a little tricky, but it's winnable. But the Titans game, the next game, is going to be important for them.
Gotcha. What about you, AJ? Do you trust Kansas City to come back and win this division?
Reed just waxed so poetically just now, and I almost want to agree with him. No, they were very good points, though. They were very good points. The thing is, right, I am not convinced by Kansas City this season, and I think they still have more losses to come. So Reed, you just mentioned the fact that they need to button up and, you know, get some things together and whatnot. Looking at their losses, and I pointed this out, I can't recall, Ken, if it was last week or a week before, but I did say that they were like my most concerning win at that point. I think that's what because the teams that they're losing to are teams that have good, they have good units on both sides of the ball. Like they're cohesive units on both sides of the football, and they have dynamic quarterbacks, right? So they lost to Josh Allen, they lost to Justin Herbert, they lost to Lamar Jackson. Now, there aren't many more of those dynamic quarterbacks that they have to face outside of Aaron Rodgers in week 9, as a 7th, but week 9. And then they have to play Dak 2 weeks later. Then they have to, of course, another game against the Chargers. I don't know. I feel like in those 3 games, they have at least 2 more losses. And I don't know how many more games. I feel like this is the season. I feel like this division could actually come down to the final weeks. Like they're not going to run away with this division. So at this point, I genuinely cannot say that I trust them to win the division. I can't. I don't feel that way based on what I've seen. And this is not like they've been steamrolling good teams. They've lost to some good teams, and they have scraped by some other good teams. The teams they have beat convincingly are the teams that aren't good. So at this point, I'm just not convinced. So I don't know how much faith I have. I'll have to see as the season progresses. But if you're asking me that, no, after week 6, I'm not convinced that they can win.
So when I looked at this, as I made mention of the records there between them and the Chargers. Now the Chargers are still leading the division at 4-2. The Chiefs have 3-3. Their defense is much maligned, and they have earned every single lash that they have received so far this season. Their defense is ranked 28th in the NFL. And right now, as good as their offensive players are, they're ranked 32nd in turnovers. There's nobody worse than them. Not even the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, we are seeing a lot of loose, slack football being played by the Kansas City Chiefs. No, I understood when people were making comments and looking at Patrick Mahomes when he threw the pass to Mecole Hardman. I think that was in week 3 against the Browns, when it was a no-look pass that hit Hardman in the hands that he wasn't ready for and popped up, and it was an interception. We have not seen any more of those kind of flashy, flamboyant type throws from Patrick since then. However, what we have seen is the ball hitting guys in the hands and being dropped and being picked off. He threw an interception that was Jimmy Garoppolo-esque this week, just gone, when he was in the grasp, and rather than just taking the sack, he just threw the ball to nobody, to nowhere, and the ball was picked off. I said this last week, I think it was. If not last week, it was no more than 2 weeks ago. The margins are too small for the Kansas City Chiefs to be playing the way they are playing and expect that they're just going to walk in and win games. The mystique and the dominance that they had before is gone. People are coming up against them and they're thinking and expecting that they can actually compete against the Chiefs. And if you, all right, so remember, like when we, like people talk about like boxing and stuff like that, one of the things that certain boxers had, like Mike Tyson, was the fact that you came into the ring knowing that if he landed a punch on you, you were done. You were down. So you came into the fight almost expecting to lose and knowing that it was, you were up against it from the beginning. But you know, as these boxers get older, what's tend to happen though? You just tend to lose a little bit of that punching power. So you go up against a man and the man thinking, well, you know, am I coming up against you, the boss, or am I coming up against you, the reputation? And if I take that first punch from you and it doesn't floor me, well, hey, I know I'm in this fight. I have a chance now. And I'm going to give it my best shot. And that's what the Chiefs are facing now, because they're no longer running people over, running roughshod over the entire league. What teams have done to make the adjustment is that they have dropped their safeties back further. So Tyreek Hill is no longer running free by himself down through the secondary, and he gets next to the defender who is not turned sprinting already to run with him, and then he could just run past him. Those opportunities are gone. And as I said last week, until the Kansas City Chiefs are able to deal with what's happening in their minds and get past the hubris that they have developed, where they think that they can, they're going to continue to be this big straight offense and keep getting these explosive plays down the field, and they're going to be able to be putting up these 14 and 21 point swings within 4 minutes of a half. Until they do that, they're not going to be in a position then to say that they're going to take over a quality team like the Chargers.
Yeah, fair enough. But look at it. All that is happening, and they're still at 500, right? I mean, it could have been worse. You know the NFL as well. Teams make adjustments. It's hard to dominate season after season after season, especially with the same players. And that's, Chiefs kind of have the same offensive weapons that they've had for the few years now. So teams made the adjustment. It's up to the coaching staff now at Chiefs to analyze where they've gone wrong this season and make an adjustment. If they can make an adjustment, because as you mentioned just now as well, Patrick played a bit desperate sometimes because there's a lot of pressure on you as the Chiefs. You're the Chiefs. You're supposed to be winning. In fact, he started the season. Didn't he say he want to go undefeated?
Yes.
So all of that has gone. No, the team is right. So that, I know you are 3-3. So you're under a lot of pressure. So you're making plays that you have never made before, because you think you have to force the issue. You have to force a win. You can't. The win is not coming naturally. So the coaching staff has to make the adjustment.
Agree. All right. So that was the Chiefs. Now the next team is one of the hottest teams in the NFL. I think they're saying at 5-1. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that is America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. That is where AJ now resides. So, gentlemen, AJ, as you are the Dallas representative here, because that's not necessarily for a team, but for a city, do you believe or do you trust Dallas to make a deep playoff run this season?
Make sure my place lock up tight and nobody can hear me. No, I don't. No, I don't. Yeah, Reed, I have to be very careful what I say about the Cowboys in this area. But Ken, no, I don't. At this point, I don't think it's disrespectful to the Cowboys, but I need to see it. You and I have had countless discussions where I've echoed this same sentiment. They'd have to prove me wrong. I need to see it to believe it. They haven't done it in my years as an avid fan of this sport. So why would I believe that? They didn't do it last year, and every single year is the same story over and over. And just today is a safety. Where he is, DeMonte Kazee is what? A safety, a starting safety, arrested, DWI. Yeah. Every year is something with the Cowboys. Listen, as much as people get on Stephen A, there's one thing he says about the Cowboys that is correct. What can go wrong will go wrong.
Accident waited to happen.
Then accident waited to happen. Then accident waited to happen. So until they prove otherwise, I know I'm not gonna. I think I mentioned in a previous show as well. They may be able to win one game. Yeah, might be able to win a game but a deep run.
What will you read?
I have to agree with AJ from the perspective. All right, the Cowboys are 5-1. I mean, the best win the Cowboys have for me is against the Chargers because of how the Chargers have been playing. But the Cowboys have beaten Eagles, Panthers, Giants, Patriots. I mean, those aren't wins that you gloat over and you celebrate. And I mean, you have a 5-1 record, but who you beat? Patriots? Come on. So,
the teams doesn't want to marry. You believe all the teams doesn't want to marry Pete?
Yep.
So when I look at the schedule going down for the Cowboys will have a very good record at the end of the season, no doubt of it. Because to me, I want to see them against the Chiefs, the Saints, and the Cardinals. Other games that they have are very winnable games. They will have a good record at the end of the season. But playing against dominant teams is where I suspect that the Cowboys will fall short. So I agree with AJ in terms of I can't see the deep run. If they perform well against the Chiefs and the Cardinals and even the Vikings, if they perform good against those teams, I may think twice that they can run deep. But right now, they haven't played anybody for me to say they can run deep.
So I'll keep this succinct. I'll just go down through my notes that I have on the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are favorites for the NFC East. We all agree on that.
Yeah.
They're second right now in points for, first in yards, fifth best passing offense, third ranked rushing offense. So their offense is very, very good. The defense is not great, but it's not terrible either. Their run defense numbers look good, but similar to what I was saying about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when you put scoreboard pressure on your opponents, it then forces them to have to abandon the run early and they have to pass the ball. Of course, if you're ahead, then it also means that you have opportunities to continue running the football because they've not really been behind or far behind in any of these games so far. I believe that the Cowboys should make the divisional round of the playoffs. They're not going to be the first seed in the NFC. So they're going to be playing on wild card weekend. And by virtue of winning their division, as you said, Reed, they should have a good record. They will be probably around the 3, maybe the 3 or the 4, depending on how everything else shakes out in the other divisions. Mm-hmm. But I can't see them getting past the divisional round. And the only other thing I will add to what both of you have said is the coach. So they have Dan Quinn as their defensive coordinator, and Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator that allowed his team to get beat from being up 28-3. The worst coach that they have on their entire coaching staff is their head coach, Mike McCarthy. Kellen Moore has been criticized in the past for having a relatively vanilla offense, but the offense right now is perking, so nobody is saying anything about that.
Yeah.
When you take the coaches and then you put these coaches now under pressure and have to deal with the pressure of the playoffs, and they're not coming up against any hop and drop teams, but they're dealing with teams that are credible, that are going to be stout and solid. I can easily see them losing. They could even lose in wild card weekend, but I do not see them getting past the divisional round for sure.
So then we agree then.
Yeah, we all agree. We do not trust Dallas to make a deep playoff run. I can say it because I'm still in Denver. You don't say anything, AJ, because we don't want everybody in Dallas is, in Texas has got that thing upon them, and we don't want you to.
I'll say that in the comfort of my own space, my own living abode, and yeah.
All right. So now, finally, the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, as I may have mentioned before, they are 6-0, and they are currently leading the West. They have been better than anybody, I'm sure even them, expected this season. No, gentlemen, do you trust the Cardinals to win the NFC West?
Definitely. Look who the Cardinals would have beaten again. They beat Tampa Bay, I think it is. No, it's Tampa Bay. Let me double check. I know they beat good teams. They beat Rams. They beat the Vikings, the Titans, sorry, not the Titans. They beat the Titans, the Rams, the 49ers, and the Vikings. They've beaten good teams. So their record isn't against, they haven't even played Houston as yet. You know, and some of these jokey teams, they play the Jaguars, but some of the jokey teams, they play Pats. Yeah, that's an easy win against the Patriots. That's easy. If they play them at all,
and don't bring him back here. Don't bring him back.
They're not playing them. You know what I mean? So I am saying that I believe it would be interesting. The interesting game for me, is against the Packers. I want to see that game because they're going to wipe the floor with the Texans this coming week. But I think I put them almost in the Super Bowl, Ken. I mean, they're playing very well. I mean, it's a long season. Anything can happen. But I really think that Cardinals can make a Super Bowl push.
Oh, wow. Okay. Heard it here first. AJ, what about you? Do you trust the Cards to win the West?
Interesting. I like the hot take, Reed. I like it. Well, let me start off by saying I'm not as bold as our compatriot here, Reed. I'm not going to suggest what Super Bowl push because I haven't seen these guys make a deep playoff run yet. So again, as I said with the Cowboys, I don't trust them until I see it happen. To win the division, I actually do. And the funny thing is, my stance on that has changed because when you sent this run out to me yesterday, I was thinking, you know what? The Rams are only a game behind. So it's still possible for them to take it. But you know what? The Cardinals are actually looking like a well-buttoned-up team. They have the second best point differential in the entire league behind the Buffalo Bills. They are plus 85. They've scored 194 points and given up 109, which are in both categories is better than the Rams, who are a game behind them. And they've already beat the Rams in LA. So then the Rams have to come to Arizona now to play. And from what I've seen in the last couple of weeks, if the offense can't, and it was it in week 5, I think it was? When there was a week week 5 against the Niners, the offense couldn't get it going and the defense stood up. And it basically helped all the offense. That game finished 17-10. It was their lowest scoring game of the season, but at the same time, the defense made sure that they gave up the least points up to that point. And that's why you needed a team. Like, not every week is going to be, you're not going to trample teams every single week. But I just think that the entire unit, this entire football team is working very well. And at this point, the fact, and you remember, Ken, there was one week I think I had them as my biggest winners because of the win over the Rams. I think they made a statement with that win, and I can actually see them going on to win this division.
All right. So we have 2 votes for, because both of you think that the Cardinals are going to win the West. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be the one against. I actually do not believe that. Or should I say, let me phrase it properly. I don't trust them at this point. Week 6 just passed. Week 7 is about to start. I do not trust the Cardinals right now to be at the top of the pile in the West at the end of the regular season. Mm-hmm. Yes, they will definitely be in the playoffs. That's for sure, because at the rate that they're going, they're probably going to be like 15-2, 14-3. They're going to have a fantastic record. They are playing extremely good football. Right now, I think they're the only team that is top 10 in both offense and defense in the league. But they got that one thing that they tend to even know everything for everybody all the time. That little pesky thing we call injuries. The Cardinals right now, compared to the majority of the other teams, especially in their division, they're the healthiest of the lot. They have not lost anybody really from their core offense or defense, really, so much that you can say that they have, been already bitten by the injury bug and have gotten over it. Compare that to the Rams. The Rams, they lost their starting running back, Cam Akers, before the season even started. Darrell Henderson, he missed the game because he was hurt. He's now working his way back. You're looking at a first-time quarterback in the division in Matthew Stafford being paired with a head coach that he's never played with in a system that is completely different to what he's had to do with any time in his career. So, and they're 5-1. They're only going to get better. They're only going to get stronger as he gets his rapport with his wide receivers, because right now he's been force feeding Cooper Kupp, who's been doing wonders for him. Robert Woods, he has not really had that level of rapport with. We've seen things coming from Van Jefferson and the others. Tyler Higbee, he's not really been as big a factor as I had anticipated in the offense so far. But the fact still remains, when you take it all into consideration, they should just be getting better. Whereas the Cardinals, at this point, yeah, it's great to be winning games and it's great to be looking good and steamrolling teams or letting your defense step up and grind things out. But you don't want to hit your stride at the beginning of the season. You want to be improving every game until you get to that stretch run where it's like week 14, week 15, week 16, week 17, week 18. Last 4 to 5 weeks of the regular season, where now you have everything firing, everything is good, and you're going into the playoffs with momentum, and then you take that momentum now for the next 3 to 4 weeks, depending on where you're seated, into the Super Bowl. The Cardinals could be playing their best football too early. And when you look at the fact that the Rams are only going to get better as the season continues, that's why I am not sure that while the 6-0 is not smoke and mirrors, it is legit because they have, as Reed said, they have beaten legitimate teams. We still got another 12 weeks of the season to go, and I have more faith now in what I've seen from the Rams, especially knowing that they've been battling adversity and trying to make sure that things keep going, than I am with the Cardinals, where everything right now seems to be just all roses.
But if they lose the next game against the Rams, they can still win the division. In that it'll be one each.
Mm-hmm.
And they can still win the division by losing to the Rams. So I think that's what I'm saying. They stand a better chance to win it than losing it. I also feel that half of the Super Bowl will come from this division. Whether it's going to be the Rams or the Cardinals, one of these teams, to me, should make the Super Bowl run.
I can't disagree. I can't disagree with that at this point, because the only other team that I'd be looking to pencil into the Super Bowl is currently sitting third in the NFC West. Sorry, NFC South. And that's my Saints. So outside of that, then I mean, we only time will tell. The Cardinals are playing great. The Rams are playing pretty good. We still have a long season to go.
Your Saints and Jay's Patriots got to me this similar problem. Y'all are too conservative, y'all QB. Let the QBs rip.
Well, I have been on record here multiple times and criticizing Sean Payton for keeping the handcuffs on Jameis, because I believe we should let him off the leash a little bit more.
I understand what you're saying, Reed, and I don't necessarily disagree, but in our case, I feel like part of the reason that is because Mac is a rookie. I think if Mac had more NFL games under his belt, then he would have been allowed to do a bit more. I can understand in Jameis' case, like y'all making that case for Jameis, because we have enough tape on Jameis to know what Jameis can do, right? But it's Mac's first year, which is why I'm not too upset, because I feel like Bill is trying to manage him and he's managing games, but we just haven't found the balance. But that's another discussion for another day.
Yeah, we will definitely come back to that. It's because I'm sure the Saints will give us lots of stuff to talk about. And I know even though AJ is telling me not to bring back Reed, we will think about if he comes back again so that we can have some more flavorful discussions on some of these topics. All right, gents. Now, before we get out of here this week, we always like to look ahead to the coming week and make our picks for the games that we want to pay closest attention to. Now, this week the buys are for the Bills, the Jaguars, the Chargers, the Vikings, and the Steelers. So, Reed, we'll give you first crack. Which are your games that you are checking this week?
Dallas too.
Oh yes, that is correct. Somehow I missed that in that.
Yeah, Dallas too. Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of boring games on for this week, from what I see. The Chiefs and the and Titans are a good game. That's a good game. That's probably the best out of the lot. I think. Well, the Colts and the 49ers could possibly be something to watch. And lost the Rams and Lions only because of the Goff factor is something to just look at the beginning of and probably the ending to see if there's going to be shaking hands or whatever. But apart from that, there, as I said, a lot of boring games. New England and New York, that's a junk game. So just the City and Titans, that is the pick of the litter there for me.
Okay. What about you, AJ? Which games are you paying closest attention to?
Well, of course, I feel like in not so many harsh words, I understand what Reed is trying to say, but I wouldn't be that be that brazen about it. But the Chiefs Titans is a big game of the weekend, of course, especially coming with the Titans coming off of that victory. But I'm also kind of looking at the Bengals and Ravens because the Ravens, as we've said earlier in this episode, like they've been up and down. So they just shellacked the Chargers, as you said, Ken, right? Mm-hmm. But I want to see if they can keep that up this week again, because the Bengals have actually been playing really good football this season. You know? They have. So I want to see what they do on. And another article I had to write, I basically was alluding to how Joe Burrow went toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers. Mind you, he doesn't have the same type of way. He doesn't have a Devontae Adams, who's arguably the best receiver in the league. His boy is Jamar Chase, a rookie, but he still was able to put up close to 300 yards in that game and get them within into overtime and within one possession. So I want to see what they do against this Ravens team. Reed, I actually kind of agree with you in regards to the Lions Rams, but I won't just watch the beginning and the end, but I'll keep a bit more of an eye on this because Jared Goff has been playing some decent quarterback football this season. He has. And the Lions have been a good team up to this point, right? They just don't have the mojo. They don't have wins. They don't know how to see out games and get wins. But I feel like there's an extra impetus that's in this game, especially for Goff and for his teammates to help him to get to try and eke out this win. So I'm actually interested to see this game itself, the Lions at the Rams.
Okay.
Well, for me, I think that there actually are a few good games this week. I don't think that all of these games are going to be boring as we described them. I believe that the Thursday night game is going to be a good one. The Broncos going to the Browns. The Broncos, they're struggling right now, but they're trying their best to rebound after dropping 3 straight after starting the season 3-0. So they now have to put in some work. And the Browns, as we mentioned of the Browns, they have their injury woes. So that's something that is going to be worth paying attention to. I'm saying it now, I'm not going to be watching that game because that game it actually falls on the same night as my wife's birthday. So I have other priorities. I will
That's
not.
a good excuse.
It's a very good excuse. That's an understandable excuse. Yeah.
I will not be watching
horrible game, man.
Reed is a man home team. Am I going to watch your home team? He watches the home team.
No,
Generally.
yes, generally. No, I did also have the Bengals and the Ravens as one of my tastiest matchups of the week. AJ, you spoke on that, so I don't think I need to go through that again. I believe the Colts and the 49ers is actually going to be a pretty good game, especially if we have Trey Lance starting at quarterback again, because Trey Lance is a bit of an unknown prospect. The Colts, they've been up and down, but they're still trying to find their identity. And this last game that they had a lot of great production coming from Jonathan Taylor. So that is something that they will want to keep going forward. And then finally, the last game I had is the Monday night game, which is the Saints and the Seahawks, because my Saints have been Jekyll and Hyde. We are not sure which Saints team shows up from week to week. And then the Seahawks, they are playing with their backup quarterback, and their defense has not been very strong. So it could be an exciting game to see how it goes. There will be lots of fantasy implications, of course. So those are the games that I have picked for week 7. Now, gents, I do believe that is a great landing spot for us to wrap up today's show. Now, Reed, I have enjoyed having you here, especially the shots that you took at the Patriots. I definitely enjoyed that. I'm sure that my co-host may feel slightly different.
I have mixed feelings.
I know why you have mixed feelings. You know, I put a thumping on you in fantasy as well. So you should really feel bad. You know, I really, I soften you up.
You know what? I can't even say anything. We'll see. We'll see again.
Yeah, but this was fun. I definitely enjoyed this episode this week. So, Reed, thank you very much for coming.
No problem.
I'm sure we will have you back again.
Sure, man. Put in a word for the MVP, right? Put in a word for Cam. You know, we looking for a job. Put in a word.
Yeah, especially if he does get a call, we will definitely call you back.
Understood.
Now, folks, that is it for another edition of the Green Beige Podcast. As always, that is AJ. He is the Green. I'm Ken. I am the Beige. We will see you next time.